Welcome to Security Today. We're back at it again for another episode of the Security Today podcast, brought to you in part by DoorJam. That's right, DoorJam is a convenient tool to prevent doors and gates from closing behind first responders and professionals in the trades. It's critical for us as security professionals to keep a high standard of professionalism as we work in sensitive areas in our customer and client spaces. This means that we don't prop a door with a bucket of pull string or a push broom, because that kind of looks like we're hacking them, and that's not what we want. Instead, you can use the device created by DoorJam, that's DoorJamm, to show that there is a technician at work and all is well. You can use the discount code of ST Podcast on their website at doorjam2ms.com and receive 10% off your purchase. Brand your DoorJam with your company's logo and make it a mandatory carry for all of your technicians. And if you ever see me in person, I'll get you a Security Today podcast branded DoorJam that is coveted by millions in our industry. Let me show you that now. Look at this puppy. Who doesn't want that? That's a piece of swag that you cannot turn down. I'm Uncle Baer. That's right, Uncle BAER _ on Instagram and Twitter, and at Security Today Podcast on Instagram and YouTube, which I hope is where you're watching this, on YouTube or Spotify right now, because this is a segment of the Security Today Podcast called Security Dojo. This segment is designed with an open structure that allows for discovery, discourse, and diligence as we take products and deep dive to make sure that you're capturing the whole picture of the physical security industry. So, welcome to the dojo. We start out every dojo with a beautiful reminder, in the words of Andrew Bunny Wong: without the right to tinker and explore, we risk becoming enslaved by technology. And the more we exercise the right to hack, the harder it will be to take that right away. That's exactly the mentality that we come into the dojo with. It's a segment designed to make sure that we are taking products and exploring them and showing you and displaying that so that you maybe don't have to, or it's something you can't just get your hands on. And so we want to make sure that we're doing that. Now, this week we have an exciting day, okay? We're going to unbox and walk through the hardware and specs from the new Hanwha Vision access control. Full disclosure, I work on the product team for this product, yes. And also, full disclosure, they had no idea that this was slated to be written, recorded, or released. All words and opinions expressed are fully my own and only reflect the Security Today podcast. Hanwha is not affiliated with this podcast, and all opinions or information, incorrect or otherwise, are solely the position of Security Today podcast. With that, though, I was not going to let the extreme closeness in my relationship, predominantly my paycheck, stop me from bringing you some of the best access control to come to the market in a hot minute. You'll be able to see this product on full display at ISC West at the ISC booth at the end of March, and it can already be purchased through your rep or through your disty. So with all that prim and properly said, away we go. First, I want to talk about a couple quick facts, okay? Let me get the box here. As you can see, ooh, money, money, money. This is an IP-based two-door, standalone, and or cloud-connected access control controller. Obviously, you're going to use standalone, or you're going to use their on-cafe cloud access platform, which is what I recommend, but it can be placed in a license-free standalone deployment. Two reader ports, allowing up to 4 OSDP readers. 2 wet outputs. You heard me. We'll get into that. And a 50,000 credential database, a 250,000 event database, and it can be powered via PoE, PoE+, PoE++, or 12 or 24. I mean, this thing is a monster. This is going to be fun, and I know I got your interest piqued. So, what do you say? Let's get this puppy open, right? Before I go into it, I just want to note that I did not come out with a podcast last week, and I'm going to tell you why for just a second. So I didn't come out with a podcast last week because I already had this recorded. This is my second time through, and I was reviewing and editing, building reels, that sort of thing to push out, and it just, sometimes you record something if you have done any sort of entertainment recording, and it's just not exactly what you want. Now, a lot of times I let that go on like news and highlights or interviews because I want to bring you the raw of the Security Today podcast. But sometimes it butts heads against the drive and the tension inside my heart to put out excellent things, right? And I just didn't feel like it was excellent. I wanted it to be excellent because this is, in a sense, my product, my team's product. But I also want to make sure that when we go into segments like the Security Dojo, we are highlighting things in the correct way so that you really get an excellent display and the full picture of a product, right? And so that's what I wanted to do. And so I went to re-record it. And that's exactly why we had to skip a week. But it is what it is. So let's get to the unboxing. Now, in the Security Today podcast, when we do the Security Dojo, you know what we do, baby. We bring it to the bench. So let's get our top-down view right here. Full prim and prop. Got the flipper, the RFID tag. We got a coffee, and we've got the product. So my keyboard is kind of the highlight right there. How bitchin' is that? I know. I'm cool. But let's prop that up a little bit so that we can get into this. So we have the box here. This comes in the NHP P100 and the NHP 200. That's 1-door and 2-door. And they're coming out with a 4-door later this year. Me. So you pull this. Now, I will have you notice this comes with some serious intentional certification and thought. As you can see, there is OnViv on this box for access control. If you don't know, OnViv does have some standards around access control and video interface into it, which you'll see later that you can tie cameras to doors in this from Hanwha, right? From your Hanwha WiseNet Wave server. And that's exactly why we have that. It's designed in Korea. Obviously, Hanwha is a Korean company, and they're putting out some of the best. It won an award for cybersecurity and access control. And so it's already got that award, and it only came out in September of 2025. You open this up, nice cardboard. Here's your controller, baby. Let's pull this out. Obviously, it's nice and bagged. This thing is hefty, okay? Look at that. That is what I'm talking about. Okay, so it's soft white with the gray Hanwha logo. And it sits just about 1.5 inches in depth off the wall. Very slim line, very modern. It's got these sleek angles on it. Look, I'm a sucker for aesthetics. I talk about aesthetics all the time. I feel like aesthetics is something that we need to be focused on in this industry. It doesn't just have to pertain to like SEPTED and how we're designing or making the feel of a space feel, but also how we're designing and making the feel of a device feel. And the beauty is that this is something that can sit on a wall in the open and it would appear to be just a piece of technology. It doesn't scream like 80 wires, dusty can, access control, big, off gray, like 1980s gross. You know what I'm saying? This is sleek. In fact, if you look here, I've got one in the back. You've probably watched the podcast for years. This just went up this year. But as you can see, that's a 1-door controller with our Hanwha reader and a little indicator light that flips green and red to show if the lock output is open or closed. But that thing sitting on the wall, you wouldn't know what it exactly was. It was a piece of technology, but it fits in with the space so well. All right, back to top down. So in this bag here, you can see first, where should we go? First, based off of this, we have some lighting up here. It talks about your host, your status, your FAI, and your network so that you can get some immediate reads off of the controller that you're looking at as you're walking in. you can look over there and see the red light and be like, yeah, it's offline. And they're like, how did you know? And you're like, I'm a wizard. That's right. So we're making you feel like a wizard from day one. But you have all of that. And let's get into the box real quick. So, of course, it comes with your security Allen screw. It comes with a fire alarm jumper, which we'll get into. It comes with your IP controller quick guide. And it comes with your IP controller wiring guide. This is all intentionally designed, guys. It's not just like, oh, yeah, throw this in there, throw that in there. No, no, no. We threw in the IP controller wiring guide so you can send out your greenie, right? He's only been doing it for maybe 9 months, but you really need that IP controller up. That's okay. Send him out with one of Hanwha's IP controllers because we have this nice gloss finish wiring guide to show you how the FAI goes, to show you, your OSDP reader connections, how to do your DPSs, your locks, everything like that. And then it's all configurable in software. Look at that, man. You hear that? Hold on. Bam. Now, this is a real 2 to 3 pound aluminum cover. Solid, right? We're not using plastic out here. No siree. And it's going to be held together from this cover, which has a security screw in the bottom. Right there. It's a captive screw. So let me get my Allen. Hold on just a second. So you have your security Allen right here. Comes in here. You just screw that out. Boom. Look. I don't have to go find it on a messy floor. That's right. It's a captive screw. And the cover comes off just like that. Look at this beauty. Get that baby to focus. I got it on autofocus, so if it's going back and forth, my bad. But this is the security screw that holds the cover in place, inset, so you'll never lose it. And then we'll get to this puppy. Inside the cover we have right here, it comes with all the information that you're going to need. Okay? You've got a tech support sticker that comes with a QR code. It comes with a phone number and an email. So you're not going to have problems getting in touch with tech support to answer all of your questions on this. We have a fire alarm input, how to wire it, which is supremely helpful because I've been on jobs where I've got my fire alarm or my intrusion alarm guy out there who also does fire, and he's like, hey, how do you wire this up for normally open? How do you wire this up for normally closed? Well, you don't have to tell him. You don't even have to be on site when he goes out there to do it because now he can just pop the cover and see, oh, yeah, that speaks fire guy language, and so he knows exactly what to do. You also have this 485 OSDP flex wiring, which we will get into that. It's a patented feature, off of the IP controllers. And then you have this little reminder down here. Here's the winner for you, to be in touch with your AHJ on an IP controller. Here's looking at you, MSP, right? Don't forget to be doing everything to code. And then you have your status LED and your port LED up here, lighting, decipher, right? To let you know exactly what lights you're seeing and what it means. So, ooh. Yeah, man. So this thing is beefy. And then I also want to point out that on the cover, we have this line right here. I'll get into that on the actual controller, but this is where your tamper, that helps your tamper go on. So it's not some external tamper that, breaks off or you're trying to pull the wire and pulls it off the can. You all know what I'm talking about. So that's our cover. Let's put that right there. And now let's get into the back plate. Okay? So this comes with a back plate. It's held in by 2 screws on this side. Let's Let's get into those. These are also spring-loaded captive security screws, right? So as I pull these out, you can see, hold on, let me get this one detached fully. There we go. You can see that these are spring-loaded to get in there and figure out where it is to give its tightening, but I'm not losing them. They're not coming out on the ground with me. Now, this back plate slides in and up just like this. So you slide it down, and it comes off the back of the controller, just like that. The top corner security screws are now in my controller. The back plate is giving us the classic Hanwha form. You get every J box that you would ever need on this thing. Single gang, double gang, your 4x, even that weird octagonal box in case you were putting it, you know, where a sconce used to be. Whether it's above the door in a IT data room, or whether it's in just a fucking linen closet, like, you can put this thing on the wall no matter what. And then we get one large hole for your back entry. This is 2.5 inches, man. So you're never going to have a problem getting your access cable into your controller. And this thing is also powder-coated aluminum. You can see here that, you know, we have a controller tamper. So this is the second tamper that we have on the back plate. So if this thing gets pried off the wall, you're getting notified, as well as if they just get the cover off, you're getting notified. And this is speaking to Hanwha designing with intentional purpose, right? It's not just a rinse and repeat. I'm going to say that a couple times. But they didn't just come out here and be like, who's doing access? Okay, let's just OEM that, buy that, and put it in. No, this was built from the ground up, which means that it came with the intention that is going to change the game. And they even, like, they stole this from the video surveillance world, right? A removable wire feed hole down here. You've seen that on Hanwha cameras. So for like a 1-door, 2-door controller, you can run wire mold right up to it. And then in the 4-door controller, it's actually conduit. And actually the 4-door controller is coming with a back box that'll have conduit into it as well. So really thinking here. That's what I'm talking. Now, you have on the back here a sticker that gives you all the information that you need from your power settings, right? What can come into it and at what amperage. Your door output power that's coming out of that when it is PoE++ or 1224 DC in. You've got your model number, your MAC address number, and you've got all these pretty little stickers right here for your certifications, right? And your UL listings and all of that stuff. So we'll go over that in just a second. But as you can see, you put this on the wall, right? And then this thing just comes here, slides back up. You find your spring-loaded screw. You put that puppy in. And now this beautiful piece of equipment is back on your wall, just like that. Okay? Now, let's get into some of the certifications that come on this back sticker first, and then we'll get to the front of this thing. So the access control is UL rated, right? So let's talk about that. What does that mean? It's really important, and I feel like a lot of our industry just assumes it's UL rated, or it says it's UL rated. They don't ever check the UL listing to make sure it's UL rated correctly, right? And that's been some of the problem with some access control and intrusion panels out there. They're like, it's UL rated. Yeah, well, it's UL rated for like a technology device on a wall. It's not UL rated for this specific instance, or it's not UL rated for exactly what it means. So these IP controllers are UL 294. That's the UL that you need to be looking out for, okay? It's a UL standard for access control systems covering performance, construction, security against tampering to ensure reliable operation in a physical security system, in a physical security setting, all right? It's also, like I said, SIA OSDP verified. Okay, so we're pushing OSDP with this because that is the protocol that you should be using with your communications in your access control platform. And this is SIA OSDP verified. It's a certification from the Security Industry Association confirming a product properly implements OSDP, which is Open Supervised Device Protocol for secure, encrypted, bidirectional communication between readers and controllers. SIA actually created that protocol, and so for them to verify it means that you're getting it right from the source. This comes with a couple of things for electromagnetic capability. So the FCC 47 CFR Part 15 Subpart B, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. No, you don't. I didn't either. But this is a U.S. regulation limiting unintentional electromagnetic emissions from electronic devices to prevent interference with radio and communication systems. It also comes with some safety ratings, UL 62368-1 and ULC for Canada, the 62368-1. It's a safety standard for audio, video, IT, and communication equipment that use a hazard-based approach to reduce risks such as electrical shock, fire, energy-related injuries. Like I said, that ULC indicates Canadian certification. It has that too. And then it has some environmental and regulatory compliance. So UL 2043 evaluates smoke generation and heat release of products installed in plenum air spaces, ensuring they won't contribute significantly to fire or toxic smoke spread. That's why this can go above the door, above the drop tile, right? California Prop 65, because California, that's on everything. Come on. UKCA, which is a UK conformity marking indicating a product meets Great Britain's safety, health, and environmental regulations post-Brexit. It's also got CE certification, which is a European conformity marking showing compliance with the EU safety, health, and environmental protection requirements, enabling legal sale within the EU. So you can put it there. And it's not just power inputs, but your door and reader and Rex power outputs, as well as 24 and 12 and your amperage, all based off that on the back of this sticker. That's exactly what we're talking about. So the things, it's meant for access. It's certified for access. You don't have to worry about that. Let's get back to the front of the controller here, okay? Oh, man, it's just so pretty. I just like looking at it. All right, we have a beautiful layout of our system mechanics. So there's color coding and highlighting exactly what group and terminal blocks do what, all color coded to make it easy when terminal blocks are off the pins, okay? And you can see here that like even when the terminal block is off, it's telling you what 4 pins are in relation to the labeling. Yeah, here we go. Got to find the camera. With the out, the reader, and all of that, which we'll get into. Now, I want to show you one thing, it's kind of cool. We got to undo these security screws, right? But this is modular in the sense that if you ever needed to see if the board was burnt up or anything like that, we have these clips all the way around it. And you can take this cover off and see the PCB board right there underneath. The modular ability allows for kind of a quicker and more seamless service. Just easily replaced. And now we know what we're looking at. We can look for burn markings or if anything's been, tampered with or any of that sort. And then this thing just kind of, boom, pops right on. Actually, you don't need to unscrew those. As you saw, the screw goes in a through hole. So that's cool. Now, I want to start with the top here, okay? This top section. We already covered from the back of the cover the status LED communication that you have up here. So you have your host, your status, your FAI, and your network communicating to you and telling you exactly what's going on. You're going to have a couple things up here. Here we have like a USB terminal to connect USB devices. This is not something that Hanwha is using currently, but in the future, it could be used to configure other forms of comms on the controller, like something I can think of, though this isn't confirmed. It's just brainstorming. If you wanted to run this off of like cellular at a non-networked out site, you could configure it from a port or even run an external device off this port, and that would be dope. Maybe that's in the future. I don't know. But they do have this for future expansion in needing to connect to the controller or connect external devices to the controller. You have a reset button here, allowing you to reset the device to factory settings manually from the controller. This can also be done in the software, which we'll get into in part 2 of this video, but they give you that. And then this slot is the slot that connects to the tamper on the back of the controller, right? That slot goes right into right here, and that tells you if your cover has been tampered with. So that's what we're looking at there. Now that we get into that, we kind of have field selectable relays right down here, as you can see. We have field selectable 1224 and dry lock output settings. Depending on your power input, it's going to matter, but if you want this door 1 to be wet with 12, you click it up like that. You can say this one needs to be wet with 24, down like that, or they can be dry. Now, it's depending on your power input, which we can see that we have DC in here, right? 12 or 24. And then we also have our network right here that can be PoE, PoE Plus, or PoE Plus Plus. It's recommended, if you are powering the controller via PoE, that you use PoE Plus Plus for the most stable and maximum power capabilities. But if you're having 12 volts, it can come in at 3.5 amps. 24 volts can come in to the controller at 1 3/4 amps. And you can also power it via PoE or PoE Plus, PoE Plus Plus. If we want to set our wet relays to output 12 volt, then we can come out of our board at our lock output right here, wet, at 0.5 amp or 500 milliamps for PoE++ or for DCN 1224. If we set our relays to 24 volts, we can come out at 0.25 amp or 250 milliamps. Now, for reference, Hess strikes, we all know those. They draw about 240 milliamps at 12 volts and only 120 milliamps at 24 volts. An Alarm Control's 600S, my favorite mag, as if I had a favorite mag, strikes over mags till the day I die, bitch. Okay, so look, I'm internally, contractually obligated to say that in my heart. But if you have to put a mag lock on, the mag lock, the 600S, pulls 0.5 amp at 12 volts and 0.25 amp at 24. And this means that with PoE++, you can run a wet relay to power a mag. Now, the other reason that you can do this is because of this beautiful little red terminal here. That is a UL-rated FAI power drop relay implemented into an IP access controller. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is where Hanwha is showing their hand a bit about how they intend to push the industry with access control and not just rinse, repeat, and compete, right? They're a company that they could have done that. They have the money to do that, but they actually care about security in the industry, and so they built this from the ground up, and they're trying to push the industry in the right way. And it comes with this UL-rated fire alarm relay on an IP controller running off PoE++. Do you get that? So on the other side of this, like I've already pointed out, we have our DC in and our network, and that can run all of the things that you need it to run. Now let's get into the terminals. Finally, we get to the terminal portion of the board, the beautiful colors, right? We have an out in orange where our lock output lives. We've got normally open, normally closed common, and a ground for when you're operating wet. And So the ground is actually shared across this board. You can land a ground anywhere, which is another very convenient implementation. We've also got our reader in blue that we can wire WAGAND or OSDP with LED, buzz, DO, data 0, data 1, D1, power, and ground. I'll talk about the patent around this in a bit because you can probably see that the LED and the buzz have an F1 and F2 next to them. I'll tell you what that is next. But we've also got our Rex in brown, which not only gives you plus and minus indicating your relay, and you can select normally open, normally closed in the software, but above it, you can see that the Rex power was placed right next to it. So when you're wiring your controller, you don't have to go steal from another terminal, from another power source, and rat nest your wiring. This is the intention and the thoughtfulness behind building this. I mean, I tip my hat, because how many times have you landed the Rex and now you got to figure out from the spec sheet, where can I pull the power for it? Was it going to have enough amperage off that terminal? All this and that. Well, no need for that anymore. And then under that, we have our DPS, our green, which is where you wire your door position switch. And that is also configurable in software to normally open, normally closed. Now, I want to talk about something. I want to talk about that little F1 and F2 that is next to your LED and your buzzer. These are called OSDP flex inputs, okay? And it is a patent that Hanwha holds. And you'll notice that this feature that's patented is actually called OSDP flex inputs. In the event of a takeover, let's say that, and I'm going to explain this for the technician. In the event of a takeover where you already have 22.6 WAGAND wiring already in place going out to a low-frequency prox reader, you're now able to install your OSDP reader because you're taking the site over, as you should be, which will use 4 of the 6 conductors in that cable back to the panel. Now, in most cases, those other 2 conductors just become dead, right? There's no use for them. You just trim them off and you're done with it. But with the NHP series, you can actually now utilize those 2 conductors as unsupervised inputs. For example, let's say that you want to provide a door release button for the front desk. They didn't have a door release button, but you're taking it over and the secretary would like to press a button and let somebody in. You can run the wire from the door release button above the ceiling where the reader goes, down the wall, and you can use one of those 2 conductors as your positive and then just tap into the ground of the reader. The grounds are, like I said, all shared on the NHP controllers. So now turning your LED F2 terminal into a supervised input, you land your positive there and your negative on the ground, and you configure it in software, and now you have a door release button without having to home run a wire. Well, let's add to that and say that they also have a back door, right? And they want a door release for that too, because they have a beautiful Hanwha A-series camera back there that watches. That's where their UPS comes in. And before, he would ring the doorbell, and you'd see him there, and you'd have to get up from your office and walk to the back and let him in. But now, you want to put a second door release at the secretary for the back door. Well, if you want to do that, in that case, you decide to home run an 18.4 from the desk to this controller. And now you land the grounds on any ground, and you wire the front door to, let's say, buzz F1, and you wire the back door to LED F2, and you configure it in software. And this could be for any input that you need to monitor. Let's say you want an additional DPS because it's a double door, but you're only electrifying one of them. Bam. Or let's say it's a separately powered motion detector that you need it to trigger something in the automations in this thing. Any trigger can come to these 2 unsupervised inputs and now start causing your system to behave in a certain way. Door releases, whatever you want. Disco balls, for all I care, okay? This continues to show the access control coming out of Hanwha isn't just looking to rinse and repeat and then try to compete. No, from card formats, the ease of mobile credentials, wallet credentials, features like first person in and using Gen AI to plain speak scheduling. Hanwha Vision is making a mark right out the gate with their NHP series controllers. And that is it, my friends. This is your hardware. We're going to have a part 2 to this where I'm going to go over how to plug and play this thing and put it into standalone mode. Because you can take a 2-door controller like this in their standalone software, which is called EntryGuard, license free, and have it just run off of a browser-based dashboard. I will show all of you that next week in part 2 of the Security Dojo, going over the NHP series. And then maybe we'll even get the brain behind this, Matt Natardis, our team lead, on this podcast to interview and talk even more about it, because that is what I want Security Dojo to be. I want Security Dojo to be this space, this workbench that we go through the hardware, we go through the software, we talk to the team. And so this is just a caveat, if you ever have a product that you want to see that's maybe new to the market, maybe it's something that is a staple in the market. What I'm thinking of is Ajax. I already have Ajax on the wall back there. They're the intrusion that operates my house at the moment. And maybe we can go through some of their hardware and some of their software and then get them on. But that's what I want Security Dojo to be. But coming from the Hanwha NHP series controllers, this is out right now. You can reach out to your Hanwha rep. If you don't know who your Hanwha rep is, reach out to me, DM me, and I can find your Hanwha rep and get them in contact with you. Or you can go to your disty, right? This is sitting on the shelf at ADI, okay? You can get, and you can start putting this in where you need to. Now, what I recommend is that you run this hardware off of the cloud-based OnCafe, which comes with licensing, like every cloud access control. But then you start to get the feature-rich capabilities of Hanwha Access Control. This is their IP controller line, their NHP series. They also have a centralized access control option for when you're doing large door implementations, right? I'm saying you using this for anywhere between, and especially when the 4-door controller comes out, anywhere from 2 to 8 doors, right? But when you need to get up into 16 doors, 24 doors, 50 doors, 100,000 doors, they do have a centralized option that for their access control that still runs off of OnCafe Cloud Access. And it runs off of Azure boards, which are a remarkable board set that takes the Mercury footprint and it's in a trove. They've got it in an Ultronics trove. It's all powered, anywhere from 4-door to 8-door to that and beyond. This also came out in September of 2025. That was just October, November, December. That was just 5-6 months ago. So this is brand new to the market. And the roadmap for it, I can tell you right now, which how cliche is a product manager being like, it's on the roadmap. No, the roadmap for it is wonderful. This in a couple of years is going to be full feature with everything that you need from access control. It's going to be being implemented and integrated into a full system with cameras, the whole nine, right? That you can run everything off a single pane of glass intrusion, the whole nine, right? And so this is something that you need to get your hands on, start playing with, start being in. Yes, I'm biased. No, they are not affiliated with this. I didn't need to do this. I could have done it later when it, came with even more and more and more and more features, but I had to get it in front of you. So that's the point of Security Dojo. That's the point of Security Day, right? To inform, instruct, and indulge. That's exactly what we're doing. Here I'm informing you, go get this, it's out. And I'm instructing you like, hey, look, this is how you wire it. This is its features, this and that and the other. And I'm indulging you because who doesn't want to hold an access control controller in our industry, right? You see some LinkedIn post and it's some guy with this access control. You're like, can I get one of those? Can you send me one of those? Because I would love to play with it. That's exactly who we are as low voltage technicians and professionals, right? It's this weird, niche, broad world of people who like to tinker, who like to play, who like to put things in place and watch them work. And that's exactly what you do for a living. That's exactly what I do for a living. That's why we're here. That's why the podcast exists. So please go check it out. Reach out to me if you have any questions or if you need contact information to start getting this. And I hope that you take advantage of this. Next week, we will plug this in, start playing with it. I'll show you how easy it is to onboard. It is literally clicks of a button and you're in. And I'll show you their standalone entry guard software. And then maybe down the road, we'll get a team lead on for an interview to talk more about it. Maybe down the road, we'll get into the on-cafe cloud access portion. But I got to leave something to tantalize you a little bit. You know what I'm saying? To be like, okay, I need to talk to somebody. I'm not really interested in standalone, but I need to see that. After seeing the hardware, I have to see the cloud access. And you do, because it's absolutely gorgeous. So thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, follow on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, any of that. I need those interactions and those comments that you have to leave from Reels on Instagram and LinkedIn. It really starts to push this stuff out here. And then somebody who is dying to get themselves an IP controller that is this easy and feature rich to use is like so thankful that you shared a post, that you commented on a post and the algorithm put it in front of them. It's very important to the industry that things like this get out in front of people so that we're all putting in excellent things, right? And I hope that's the case. So please like, share, subscribe, do what you need to. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and I really appreciate you guys. So that's it for the Security Today podcast. Security Dojo Part 1, Hanwha Vision NHP series controllers. And we will see you guys next week to go over the entry guard. And then we'll get back into some news and highlights. I also got a couple of interviews lined up. And for sure, the security theory course is coming out soon at bethebettertech.com. So if you need more information, if you need to be sharper and excellent, you can go to bethebettertech.com right now and get your hands on Professional Access Wiring by Baer, which was created when Be The Better Tech was formerly known as Black Picket Fence, but the information in it is all the same. And in a matter of a half a day, 3 or 4 hours, you're going to understand access control. You're going to understand the circuit. You're going to understand how to wire what devices go to access controllers, how to wire access controllers so that they're not downstream of lightning strikes. All the things, man. I get you all the things, and it even comes with wiring guides for major access control players like PDK and Brevo. It was a little bit ago, so I don't have a wiring guide to this, but I'm sure that I'll get that as soon as I have time. So anyways, so check out bethebettertech.com, sign up and get that. There's a couple of ebooks coming out on video storage and networking in access control. So you'll be able to kind of, for a very low price, just consume all of that and just be better. That's the point of getting through this. So thank you guys so much. I'll get off the mic, let you get back to your day. But you guys have an excellent week, and we will see you next week on Security Today.